What's up, everybody? It's hump day already. Can y'all believe that? We done blew through the week, and man, my tails are dragging. It's been a rough few days trying to get everything going and keeping the show rolling, get the house fine and setting up going, and all that good fun stuff. Making sure we're live. Yep, we are live still. So getting that going. My head is killing, and I'm getting an echo.
Yep, I hear the garble.
Yep.
So
I'm getting that too.
So do we still have the echo? Is it just when I lean up? So how about now?
It's bad.
Do we have the echo?
It's not
No,
as bad.
I don't hear it. Nope.
All right, let's roll with that, and we'll see if it gets any worse. I was leaning up to the mic, and that might have been too much overkill. Anyway, I see that we still got the echo. Do you have YouTube and StreamYard brought up? If you do, mute YouTube.
No, it looks like mine's good. I think I'm all good.
All right. So maybe this will go away. All right. So let's see what we got in here. Fantastic Travels, which people that don't know, that's Sherry with RV Weekend. That's her new channel name. And if you'll notice the van, so she's a van lifer now. So everybody be sure to support her. His Way Homestead's here. I still have not mailed your coffee mug and your book, Commander Bacon, but I will get that to you the next time I remember to carry it to the post office. And Sherry, I have your book. I keep forgetting to mail that, but I will get them to you. So I've just had a few things on my mind here lately. So that's one of a few million probably. So Happy Place Camping's here. Nursing our travel bugs in the house. Talked to Mr. Bill yesterday on the phone amongst putting in fiber optic lines and power and water and all that kind of good stuff. Let's see here. Somebody named Bobby's in the house. Let's see. Whoops.
Uh-oh.
Shanna Craft is in the house. Whoops.
You there?
Did you
I'm back. I'm back.
It keeps you out. That doesn't go that way. Yesterday,
like,
my show.
Yeah, I was so confused. I was like, oh, I guess I'm not. I guess I'm not there anymore.
We changed our minds. We don't want to interview you.
Yeah, I'm out.
There's Space in America coming in the house. But hey, everybody, we got Michael in the house. We're going to talk to him in just a minute. He's with Navigation Nowhere, an awesome channel. You guys got to go check that out if you're in the schooly life, right? You're into schooly, right? Yep. So if you're into that, even if you're not, it's pretty cool. Go by and check him out. And we're going to talk to him just a minute. Tomorrow, we're going to have FTA Adventures. Friday, no show. No show Friday. So just to let y'all know that up front. So that's just all I got going. So a little update on the house deal. We're still waiting on the sellers to let us know if they're okay with the termite inspection. Why they wouldn't be, I don't know, but we get nervous, making sure. They did find a few things, but we're going to fix it. So I don't see what that would be a big deal, but you always get nervous when the buyer has to approve everything. So when we get past this, all you got to do is write us the check. So, talk to the mobile home place. We did buy one yesterday. For those that don't know, we wound up buying a new one. Couldn't find a used one. Couldn't find many new ones, but we found a new one we really, really, really like. We was worried about Thomas and his size of his bedroom. It's tiny, small, but we all got together and hashed it out last night. And Thomas found some cool setups to go in the room. He couldn't do the big loft thing like I thought he might could do, because I didn't think the babies sleep with him, our two fur babies, and they wouldn't be able to get up and down. And they like to get up and down and go to the bathroom and all during the night. So we had to do something that was no higher than the babies could get up and down because they sleep with Thomas. So, but Thomas Googled, which is what we do, right? And found a cool bed and measured it, and it's going to fit. And it's going to have storage under the bottom. And we talked about taking the door off the closet so he don't have to worry about putting something behind the door. So we've come up with some unique ideas. So we've got Thomas sort of on board with us a little bit more. Nobody's going to be happy with a 9 by 10 bedroom. I mean, really, that's small.
Well, I mean, hopefully he don't live with you forever.
Right, but still,
he is growing into adulthood.
This boy's 6 foot tall, so everything he has is big, And
besides, stick him in a really small room and want to get out even faster, right?
Yeah, but he's a good son, and we love him to death.
Well, my kids are good too, but I don't want them living with me till I'm dead.
Yeah. Hey, you know what? It wouldn't bother me a bit. My kids lived with me from now on. I love having them around. They're cool. And I mean, of course, they're my kids. They have to be cool. So anyway, so Thomas come up with some really cool ideas. They got the graph paper out, measured, what you're really supposed to do, right? Measure and figure all that out. Plus, they're going to deliver the house Wednesday. If nothing happens, we're going to pay for it Friday. They're going to deliver it Wednesday. And so we'll be able to go over there and play with it. So, but anyway, that's the update on the house. Last night, the reason I come sliding in sideways for the night show is me and Dad. Dad's got all this heavy equipment. So we dug and installed the fiber optic, the water, and the power lines. They're not connected yet, but they're run under the trailer so that all the connections will be behind or under. And that's what we wanted. We didn't want it on the front. And so we done all that and got all that done. So we're way ahead of the game. Our only holdup is going to be the sewer system, because health department around here, they don't kid around. You got to do it right. Their inspector comes out and looks at it. Well, you got to get your perk test, which is a test they check the ground and then whoever does that will draw up a plan. I mean, they'll do the perk test. You'll send that to health department. Health department will tell you how many fill lines you need, what size tank. So then you install all that like they tell you to, and then they come out and look at it. They sign off on it. You cover it up, hook your house to it, bam, you're ready to go. But that's a process. We're hoping to get that done before we have to move out of this house. So we'll see. If anybody can get it done, my daddy can. So
see, you done made Sherry feel bad for pushing her kids out of the house.
I love having my kids around. So me and Tammy both does. So I don't talk to the kids like she does. And I guess that's why I like having them around more often. They call their mama like every 5 minutes, but they don't never call dad. I won't say never, hardly ever.
Maybe because you talk too much. They can't get a word in edgewise.
Are y'all trying to say I'm not a good listener?
I'm not saying anything.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I'll cut your pay.
Okay.
So, Michael, just so to catch you up a little bit, I paid Felix 6 figures.
Mm-hmm.
6.
Yep.
Talk it out.
All zeros.
It's still 6 figures.
Yep, it is 6 figures. Where's that exit button? I'm getting rid of him.
Hey, the other day, they done so well. I upped their pay 5%. Do you know what 5% is of 6 figures?
Well, it matters how high that figure is, but I mean, it could be.
Well, of their pay, it was another 0. So, hey, they're a glutton for punishment. That's all I can say.
Yeah.
So we have fun. That's what it's all about. So, Michael, what are you up to today?
Well, I'm here now, and I'll be working on a bus later. It's pretty much every day is eat, sleep, and build. That's
Eat, sleep, and bus, right?
yeah, and I can't complain because I mean it's fun.
It's life. Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually drive a school bus, so it's pretty cool that I have a schoolie channel on. Because I've been in and out and around of a school bus and a school bus function. You know what I'm saying? Not as a schoolie, but pretty cool. I kid them on here all the time that I wouldn't be interested in a schoolie. I drive a bus enough as it is.
I always tell people that if I ever need work, I have a really good resume to drive school buses for a school district because I've been doing it for so long. I've never had a kid on board, but I think the amount of miles kind of racks it up for a good resume.
Yeah, baby. Yeah, if you know how to drive one backwards as good as you do forwards, which you probably do, you're a great bus driver.
Oh yeah. Yeah, when I first bought my first bus, I had absolutely no clue how to drive it, and I've never driven something that big. So it was kind of like trial by error and trial by fire. And you know, I used to live and travel in like vans and you know SUVs, so I'm pretty used to boondocking and camping backcountry. So when I got a big bus, I had to kind of adjust my mindset to the fact that the bus is like 20 feet larger than a van. So like I still want to get to that same spot, but it doesn't fit as well. So you just got to learn how to drive.
Yeah. So Michael, for me and everybody in the chat that may not know you, tell us a little bit about yourself and your channel and how it got started.
Sure. Yeah. So, I mean, like we already said, my name is Michael, and my channel's Navigation Nowhere. And essentially, the way it started was I finished out graduate school and was looking for the typical job, 9 to 5, go into an office. And I grew up in New Jersey, so I was looking at jobs in New York City and stuff. And when I started looking at like rent prices and commuting time and the amount of people that live in that area, I was like, nope, I'm out. So that's when I started looking for kind of different forms of alternative living. And I ended up talking to my dad about it, and he suggested looking into school buses. And I was like, that's a great idea. And a week later, I had a school bus in the driveway and building it out into my home. And yeah, I just started living and traveling in that first bus, which I named Navi. It's a big green 37-foot school bus. And I traveled and lived in that for 3.5 years. And then eventually I got a little, I don't know, restless of wanting to do something a little different. So I bought a short bus. And now I'm currently filming and giving a whole build series on my YouTube channel about that whole process of doing the short bus.
That is cool. That's what I drive. I drive a special needs bus, an international. Yeah. I've always thought that would be a great size to build if you're going to build one.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, if we've talked about that, if we did a schoolie, we would want the short bus.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I'd say after living in a big one and living in a small one, I mean, the big buses are great. There's a lot of room. But I mean, I don't know. I think at this point with kind of wanting to travel a little bit faster, maybe a little bit different, definitely I like the short bus, I think, a lot better at this point just because of how compact it is. And kind of it just gives you a lot more mobility with a lot of the places you can go and parking places you can find. Because, I mean, my little bus is 21 feet. My big bus is 37 feet. And that's a big difference for anyone out there in the RV world. You would know, those lengths are, huge.
Oh, yeah. So when you got into the school bus thing, had you ever done any kind of building or anything?
A little bit. So like I like to say like my family and my dad and my grandpa and uncles, like we're all handy, but no one in my direct family is necessarily like a construction worker. Like my dad, he works in an office, he's an engineer, but we're not builders per se. I think it's we all just kind of came together and kind of joined in on the project. I've been really fortunate that my family's really kind of passionate and interested into my lifestyle. So a lot of them really come around and really help out and teach me a lot. So it's been a combination of like grassroots skills and then just trying to learn as much as I can over the last 5 years from the people that I meet and a lot of my friends who have different skill sets than myself. So it's kind of just a combination of a whole bunch of learning.
Yeah, I'll interpret that for all of you guys. What he said was he told everybody how cool it was, so they come and work for free, and he promised to put it on YouTube.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's fun too because everyone who's a part of all the projects, they typically will end up coming on trips with me and coming to live in my bus. Like my big bus, I've had over like 20-something roommates in that bus traveling with me, and most of those people are people who actually helped and were a part of the build in the first place. So it's been a really fun.
Downsizing, right?
What'd you say?
You're downsizing, so you don't have to carry anybody with you, right?
Yeah. We're trying to get rid of half the people. Yeah, smaller bus, less people.
So, how many square feet do you have in that? The little bus.
The little bus is about, I think, 113. It'd be like 110, and the large bus is like 240, 250, I think.
Wow. So you're talking New York apartment here.
Oh yeah, it's small, but this bus, I mean, I know next week I'm putting out a video on the floor plan. It's gonna have a bathroom, a bed, a dinette, kitchen, everything that you would typically have in, a typical RV or school bus. I mean, I'm gonna fit it into this little one, and that's gonna be the fun part to it.
Oh yeah. So are you working as far as your schooling? Are you working in your career, or are you just traveling?
Yeah, so originally I was working in research. Actually, I worked for some tech companies doing research work. But more recently, in the last like 2 or 3 years, I've actually now turned Navigation Nowhere into my full-time job. So now I run blogs and podcasts and things of that nature, and actually now have a kind of a full group on that. We do build projects for clients and things of that nature. So we got a little crew going on over here at this point, which has really been fun to see. A passionate hobby now turn into a job that other people can be a part of.
Oh yeah. I live my dream every day. I run this show because I always wanted my own morning show. Granted, we're not big time, but considering this show's not been on but since the end of February. Yeah, I think we've done pretty well, and had pretty big names like you on the show. That says a lot.
No, we're all just a part of the community. I mean, I love school buses, and I'll try to convince you to live on a school bus. But I mean, any type of alternative living, I mean, we've all got the same passions, the same, goals and things of that nature. It's just, I like school buses. You might like vans or campers.
Yeah. I've been researching a lot of the vans because me and my wife will be weekenders. Yeah. But I tell you what's funny, and being in a sticks and bricks or mobile home like we're fixing to be, I find myself incorporating things that I learned on this show from people that have built stuff into my everyday life, like the things to do, neat tricks to do with different things, and how simple people make things. Do you find yourself doing that all the time? You're like, people are doing projects, and you're like, oh, you need to do it this way. Yep.
Yeah, I have family members who are living a bit more of the normal lifestyle. They want a 3,000 square foot house. They want, the normal stuff. I don't know how I could fill that space at this point. I mean, everything that I feel like I think is tiny and alternative, and like, how can you really work with the space that you got? Because I mean, I don't know. I don't know what I would do with the space. I don't know what I would buy to even fill it with.
Right. Well, and it says a lot though. If you start small, you don't accumulate much. Yeah. If you start big, you have a lot of junk, and it's hard to go back down.
Oh yeah. I got really fortunate where I never actually upsized, because I went from like a small apartment in college and then immediately went into a school bus. So it was kind of like I never really got that size up. So I never had to pare down. But I mean, I can't imagine having to go from a large square footage and down. I mean, that's a lot of perseverance and really going through a lot of stuff to get there. But I mean, it's awesome when you can.
So do you said earlier that you travel. Do you try to stay in a certain area with your job, with your career that you're doing a lot now? Do you stay in one area, or do you just stay on the road constantly?
It's kind of a back and forth, so it depends if I'm building or if we're kind of in more of a travel mode. Right now, obviously, I'm building a new bus that I'll be moving into. So right now I'm stationary. So at this time, I'm up in upstate New York, building out the next little blue bus. But once I'm back on living on the road, I mean, we travel all over the country. It's kind of, a bit of travel with the seasons, travel with the flow of everyone else. And then, if we end up doing a build project, we'll settle down somewhere and go through that kind of process and then head back on out.
Yeah. Do you have much problem finding a place to park, like for the night as you travel?
No, actually, I've really never actually had an issue finding somewhere to park. I mean, I think it does have to do a little bit with what you're comfortable with parking. I mean, I've slept in parking lots all the way to like amazing backcountry parks and national forests and stuff, But I mean, it's kind of what you're looking for the night. But I mean, I lived on the road for 3.5 years in the green bus, and I didn't pay for camping once, and I never really had an issue with, ever finding something. I just free camping for 3.5 years.
Yeah. What do you think was the biggest challenge of deciding, of moving into a bus? What do you think your biggest challenge was?
I think it was understanding where I could actually live, like finding parking, finding places to stay. I thought that was going to be a really big challenge, and it actually ended up being something that I didn't really have to worry about once I got started, which was kind of surprising to me, actually. So, I mean, it was the biggest concern, but then ended up really not being something I really need to worry about too much, because I kind of just started figuring it out as I went. And I met some really cool people early on in my travels who were much more knowledgeable in living on the road. And they really gave me a lot of information and, helped me out a lot. So, I mean, I think I got a pretty good jump start from the beginning.
Now, I know as RVers, I could probably sit down with a map and a highlighter and plot out a trip, and along the way I'd probably have 8 or 10 friends that live somewhere on that path. Have you found that that's the same with you in your travels?
Yeah, no, totally. I mean, at this point, I feel like I have my own little map, actually. I mean, I used to use typical travel apps, free campsites, iOverlander, RV apps and stuff to find water dumps and stuff. And after traveling and meeting people, I feel like you just start kind of having this, you like almost know people every few miles down the road. And like, you just start meeting people who have been living on the road for so long that they know people and they know people. And it's just so cool to see how, like, you think the community is like this big, and then you find out that it's like huge, and it's just so interconnected, which is just, awesome. It really makes the country small in a way.
Yeah. Did that make it better? Like, did you have any apprehensive, or were you apprehensive about taking a bus out on the road as far as mechanical?
Yes and no. I mean, at this point, I'm pretty handy with most of the engines that I do all the work myself on my rigs and things of that nature. So at this point, not much. Starting out, what I did was I just did as much prep as I could before I hit the road. So I kind of, figured, hey, if I change the brakes now, I probably won't have to change them on the side of the road, or, things of that nature. But I just figured that, it's going to be no different than a car. Like if I have a car and I'm commuting to work, it could break down on me just as much as a bus could. So I kind of just stuck with the same mindset of, I got to just do maintenance. I got to get a schedule going on of what I need to do and just stick to that schedule. And I mean, just like every day you turn on your car to go to work, have confidence that it's going to start because you did the right prep.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, the good thing though is, with school buses, most of them are diesels. Every exit on the highway has a diesel mechanic. So, I was also not too concerned, because if I needed help, most likely anywhere in the country, there's going to be a diesel mechanic within, so many miles to kind of help you out. So, it's, I don't know. Like I said before, the community is so big, so the world gets really small. And, with one phone call, usually someone knows some aunt or uncle or friend of a friend who's a diesel mechanic where you broke down.
Yeah. Yeah. And two, every truck stop has somebody that, especially like maybe truck drivers, could help you with little things.
Yeah.
Because I don't know what your big bus probably has, an international or
it's a Mercedes, actually. It's the Mercedes 900.
Really? In the big bus?
It's a straight.
Man, I've not had one of those.
Yeah, I like to tell people that I own a Mercedes and I own my own home. I just don't tell them it's a school bus and an engine.
Yeah. What you telling me is I have a paid off home and a Benz.
Yeah. I got a paid off home in a Benz. Yeah. And my daily driver is a Chevy Collins. Just don't tell him it's a school bus.
So, what was the biggest surprise in building your first bus?
Oh gosh, every day was a surprise. I feel like, oh man, that first build, I love thinking back to it just because like I had no clue what I was doing. I was just like, feel like a young guy just bought a bus and just trying to go at it and have no clue what I'm doing with tires or engines or anything. You just kind of go into it. But I think after going through it, the biggest challenge was figuring out how to go from a metal bus to wood. Like how do you even do that was like something that I just couldn't really figure out at first. Just because it was so, I don't know. I've never worked with metal before. That was my biggest challenge. I never welded, had no skills with metal at all. So it was really daunting to me when I started. So I mean, that's where I hit most of my struggles. Once I got over to carpentry, I felt like I was a little bit more confident with making a mistake with the wood and then being able to fix it. Whereas metal, it just freaked me out at first.
I've seen a lot of van lifers get real acquainted with liquid nail.
Yeah. It's great. I mean, sometimes you just got to hold two things together, and there's only so many ways to do it sometimes.
Yeah, because you got to have space to insulate.
Yeah.
And so you've got to get wood on it somehow.
Yep.
Bring it out, and like you said, wood's easier to work with.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean in the buses it's pretty, so like the rib structure, which you can kind of see in the video, you can kind of see the inside of the bus. There's a rib structure to it, and that rib structure is about like 1.5 inches deep. So there's a good cavity there if you got the bus all the way down to get some good insulation up against the metal, and then you can start framing from there, which I think one of my previous videos actually shows that kind of like the framing kind of looking. But it actually ends up giving you about a 3-inch spacing where you can spray foam or insulate or do whatever. And I actually just spray foamed my bus, and that thing's, insulated all the way around at like R21 at this point. So now I just got a spray foamed metal shell, and I'm ready to start actually doing the fun carpentry part where things start actually looking like something.
Yeah. So how do you heat your buses, or how are you going to heat them?
Yeah, so my big green bus just has a typical RV suburban, heater. Just runs off of propane. And the new bus that I'm building right now is actually going to be running one of the diesel S-bar heaters that you see a lot in vans. And then I'm going to have a wood stove in it just because I've always wanted a wood stove. I don't think
I think those are so cool.
Yeah, I just always wanted one. I don't know if it's going to be, I don't think it's going to be like a primary source of heat. It's probably going to be more of like something I use as often as I can. The diesel heater will probably be a much more consistent heat because you can regulate that. But yeah, I'm going to have those two heating sources in there just because my last bus was not built for winter at all. That thing is a Chase 70-degree bus, and it did great at doing that. But I do want to spend a little bit more time in colder weather. So this next bus is going to be a little bit more upgraded for winter.
Yeah, for those, and I don't know if we're talking about the same kind of wood heater.
Yep.
But I've seen them in these scampers, and the wood heater is not big, and you just put like kindling in it, and then some of them have these little cubes you stick in them.
Yep. Yeah, that's pretty much all we put in. I just think having a wood fire, just that takes it from being like a bus to a home. Like that's where you make it good.
A plate full of cookies.
Yep.
There's
also read another book.
There's a little fan that you can sit on top of those that somehow the heat actually causes it to work. So it's not like battery operated, doesn't have to be plugged in. It literally just sits on top, and like the heat of the stove causes the fan to start. I don't know how somebody figured out how to make that, but it helps to distribute the heat a little bit, because we saw that on a couple of different channels and we were kind of like, because that was like a really good idea. But
the only downside that I've seen, I was going to say, the only downside that I've seen with those for you is the burn time. They only burn for like 3 to 4 hours. So if you're trying to heat through the night, you're going to be waking up like 2, 3 in the morning to restoke the fire. So like there's a downside to tiny stoves because they only burn for so long.
Also, the heat from it is so warm that you might end up getting too warm in a smaller space, which, you know, we're just 6 by 10. So like the buddy heater runs us out. We have to get up and turn it off. We can't just leave it on all night.
Yeah.
And, you know, then we open the windows wider and then all the cold air comes back in again. You know, it's kind of a, you know, but yeah. So when you do your builds, do you already have in mind where you want your kitchen, where you want your bathroom in it, where you want your beds? Do you draw a plan or you just kind of wing it?
Yeah, no, I'm a very detailed person where I'm the one who like will draw everything out to the inch before I even start building. So like my entire build from pretty much the beginning has already been completely planned out. I know exactly where the wires are going, where they need to be, where my kitchen and bathrooms going. Like I already had it all kind of drawn up. The big part was finding a bus that matched what I was trying to do the best, the best fit together. But for the most part, it's for me, it's pretty planned. I don't ad hoc a lot of my designs.
So how many times do you change that design before you get done?
Quite a few. It's a lot. I mean, if anyone or even yourselves, like with living and building tiny structures and stuff, like it's one of those things where like that little inch or half an inch, like it actually matters. When you start like trying to fit your cabinets and stuff, you're like, oh man, I'm short a few inches. Like, what do I do? So that's where I feel like the adjustments and changes go of like, you know, trying to figure out how can I maximize the space that I have. And that's what really drew me to this whole lifestyle was the fun of saying like, how can I take 100 square feet and put everything I want in it, but it still works. And it's not like just thrown together. And that's something that to me is a lot of fun. I love the design part to the whole thing. Yeah. So
diesel heater, are you going to do the Chinese one?
Probably not. I think I might actually just spend the money and get the actual S-bar. And it's mostly because I've installed quite a few of those on people's rigs before. And sometimes they work amazing. Like hands down, can't say a thing against them. Other times they just don't work out of the box. And it's just like I've installed like on one rig, we did an install. We had to install a new one. Then we had to install a new one. And it was just like, it just kept not working. But then I installed another one and it's been working for a year and never had an issue. So a part of me is kind of like, I don't know, I might just get the actual, I guess, official one with the metal parts, not, you know, plastic parts, just because like I don't want to have to rip out my cabinet to reinstall it. I kind of rather just set it and forget it and kind of just move forward. But I mean, I don't know.
So what is for everybody out here that's thinking about those, what is the cost of those and what's the cost difference between the name brand versus the Chinese one?
I think the Chinese model, which I haven't looked it up in a bit, I think it was like $300 or so for the whole system. It might be a bit if there's like a kit edition. The full like name brand S-bar, that one I think runs anywhere from like $850 to like $1,200 depending on the size model you get. So it is like double the price. But I know from like I said, from my experience, you can get the off-brand one. And just from what I've seen, it's like a 50-50 shot, like of how long and you know how long it's going to work and if it's going to work great. I've had friends who've never had an issue, and I've had friends who will curse them. So I mean, it's I don't know.
I've seen several videos where they say the instructions are not exactly what they need to be.
Yeah.
And when they would YouTube it and they figured out what they were doing wrong, then it worked.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
So I don't know if that's some of the problem there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've watched several videos about it, and that's getting to be a big thing.
Oh yeah, they're so efficient. They run on so little fuel for how much they can produce for you in a small space. I mean, it really is a good efficient option for heating. It's just I don't know if you ever installed one, but like the fuel orifice is like, I mean, a pinhole, and if that thing clogs at all, it like really shuts down the system because it's so temperamental with how much fuel it needs to burn, and it's really precise. So I think that's where I've seen a lot of issues is the fuel filters clog or the tubing kind of clogs up, and then your whole system kind of goes down pretty quick.
So a good fuel filter, in front of the heater would be a great idea, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I think some of the models they have one built in. It's just like I'm sure we all do. We all forget to change them.
Yeah, right. Yeah. It's funny how we'll change the oil in our cars every time, right on the dime.
Yep.
But we never change the transmission fluid. And of course, some of the new cars, you don't. They're sealed.
Yeah.
You can't.
They're sealed.
Yeah, and then we never change the fuel filter.
Yep.
And we wonder why it don't run good.
See, Jesse does all that, so.
Yeah, that don't surprise
me. He'll do transmission. He did, what's that? Now I can't think of what it is on the Hummer for the 4-wheel drive stuff and all that. He changed all that junk out.
Yeah.
Fluids and things, whatever all that stuff was.
Yeah. So I would say, with your saying, I think that's one of the most important things to like learn for me was like learning how to do those things. Just because like, I mean, knowing how to change your own oil if you don't, I mean, that's something that could really save you a lot of money. I know in like a school bus.
Uh-oh. Thank you, froze.
Houston, we have a problem. Michael is in the middle of nowhere. Get it? Nowhere? Get it?
Yeah. Yeah, he just navigated off to somewhere else.
His connection to the spaceship just got cut. He is
along the lines of what he was talking about, he said learning how to do all that stuff. That is one thing about YouTube that is pretty amazing. You can search just about anything on YouTube, how to whatever, and find a video on how to change oil, fix something on your car, do this, do that. I mean, we've done that a lot of times because it'll be something that we, because I mean, Jesse grew up working on old cars, not, these new electronic run, whatever, so a lot of stuff is not the same as it used to be. You can't just crawl in under the hood and start swapping things out.
Yep. Yeah, a person would really need to know because we have a lot of issues with our school buses. When you use one a lot, you're going to have issues, and we have an awesome bus shop, and they come out and fix it. I think we're trying to come back in. Here we go.
Sorry, we got a storm coming through here, so I think the Wi-Fi is all going crazy.
Yeah. So you was talking about how important it is to learn how to do your own service, and especially the buses. Yeah.
I was saying like from what I was saying before, like for me, when I first did my school bus, learning about the maintenance and stuff, I didn't realize how much just like secondary costs would come into that to kind of, bring your bus into a shop and have all that stuff done. It is something you can pay for, but I mean, if you can learn how to do those things yourself over time, I mean, I think it's worth the investment to try to start learning from people around you, or just, I mean, if you're out on the road, even right now, I guarantee you'll probably run into people who know how to do those things. And if you have the opportunity to learn, take it. Because I mean, being more self-sufficient and in all those ways is like, that has changed my life in a lot of ways, because I've saved a lot of money just being able to do basic things myself. So just a money saving tip for living on the road.
Yeah. So I noticed in watching other channels, and I mention their channel all the time, they get a lot of free promo from me, but Van Wives, when they were in Mexico, they broke down and they carried an extra belt. There was a lot of the parts that they carry with them all the time. And they had a brand new belt to go on it when they broke a belt or slung a belt off or something. Anyway, they had all the parts. All they had to have was a little help putting it back on, because when it come off, they didn't know how it went back on, because, it's one of those serpentine belts, and they, it's a maze. But anyway, but they were thoughtful enough to carry the parts. Do you do a lot of that as well?
Yeah, at this point, I have a big Rubbermaid bin in the back of my bus that has all extra parts that would be like the main things that would go. I've got 2 extra U-joints for the drive shaft. I've got belts and pulleys and filters and stuff, just that, if something did break, I would most likely have a part that I could use to fix it. And mostly I've learned my lesson because I've broken down in very remote locations and not been able to really get out too easy. So I've learned my lesson to just, having those basic parts can really get you out of a jam, or even someone else. I've even given parts to people when they break down, and, you can share parts with other people and try to help each other out. So, I mean, if I'm at a bus junkyard and I see some extra fuses or stuff and we can grab some, I grab them because, you never know when you're going to run into someone who might need an extra fuse or something.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I think you guys were talking about Volkswagen. That's what Volkswagen people do. They pile as much parts as they can in those bugs and buses because they know they will break down. It's not a matter of if, it's when. But I've had a couple of Volkswagens. We've been.
Yeah, I forget. There was one YouTube channel out there where I think the guy, his engine broke 10 or 12 times, and it was like every month his video would come out and be like, fixing the engine again, and it's like, wow.
Yeah. So with that Mercedes, I'm trying to picture how many Mercedes dealerships I know that would work on the truck engines. You might find a specific commercial dealership, wouldn't you?
I mean, you can find, so with the Mercedes engine, it's a Detroit built engine. So you could pretty much take it anywhere. There are going to be guys who are specialized in the Mercedes engine, just like anyone would be in, a Caterpillar or anything like that. But I've actually never had an issue because the engines, they're not super, super common, but they are very common in, larger commercial Freightliner trucks. I think the early 2000s, a lot of Freightliners were installing the Caterpillar and the Mercedes engines. So I get all of my engine parts at the Freightliner dealership.
Wow, that's cool. Yeah. I know a lot of the vans in the van lifers, they drive those Mercedes Sprinters, and they love them. I've seen some of them Mercedes diesel in the Sprinters for sale on Facebook with 500,000 miles on them.
Oh yeah, yeah. I think my bus is over 300 now, and it's still kicking. I mean, I don't even think about turning it over. It starts every time.
Yeah, my International's got it's feet to flip 100,000. It's a 13 model, and I'm not pro in. Let me just say I wouldn't recommend it. Yeah, mine spent more time in the shop. The second or third year I had it, I think, than I drove it that year.
Oh gosh,
it's had issues. But now your bus is pre-emissions too.
Yeah. Yeah, so I don't have any of the EGR systems on my Mercedes. It's all pretty basic. It's nice. That's why if I can, I try to find buses that are a bit older because we don't have any of those issues on kind of the newer models. Which, I mean, you can always work around. You can always figure it out. I mean, the best bus that I always say is the bus that works for you. But I mean, for me, if I can, I definitely would find another Mercedes just because I worked on them now a good bit and I really like that thing.
Yeah. Yeah. So I've noticed too that with the schooling craze that's going on, the price of used buses have gone out the roof, ain't they?
Yes. Oh yeah. My first bus I bought for $3,500, and my second bus I bought for $25,000. I'm not sure you could find a bus for those prices at this point. They've gone up.
I've been driving a bus for 17 years, I think. When I first started driving, they would liquidate buses. But now there's a little bit of a difference. In our state, a few years ago, the government come in and said, it may be federal, but anyway, said if you'll replace your buses every 10 years, we'll give you some money, a bunch of money to help cover that cost. Anyway, so they started replacing the districts that could afford them, started replacing them every 10 years. So you're talking about my bus, when they give me and you in, my bus will probably only have 120,000, 130,000 miles.
Yep.
And so it has a lot of life because it is getting better as it gets older, but it would have a lot of life somebody. But 16, 17 years ago, they'd liquidate a bus for $1,500. I think the last group of buses they sold were around $6,500, $7,000. I'm talking about buses with, 180,000 miles, which is still not a lot for a diesel, but
yeah,
that's been rode down a few dirt roads.
Oh yeah.
And but it's crazy how much more, and they usually don't sit on a lot long. When our county puts them up for sale, they usually some company will come and buy all of them.
Yeah.
And so they're reselling them. So if they're giving our district $6,000,
yeah,
then they're reselling them.
Yep.
But it's just a lot of things I wouldn't imagine. I'm 52 years old. I would never imagine a used school bus, people wanting them by big demand to drive all over the country. That wasn't something I would have thought of. I thought that went out in the 70s.
Yeah. Apparently, I guess it came back. I mean, I agree with you though. I mean, I'm the first time I heard someone say that they bought a used bus for like 6,000 to 8,000. I was amazed. I was like, what? Where? What? And then from that time on, I've seen a lot of buses sell for those prices, and it's surprising to me because, like I said, my buses when I bought them, they were still, I guess, before everyone was really going too crazy this year buying them. And yeah, the prices have definitely shifted. It's crazy.
Are there, and I guess this be a question for somebody that wanted a schoolie but didn't want to build it. Are there places out there that you can go to that builds them and sells them already ready to go?
Yeah. So, I mean, I know for like myself, I build buses and sell them just as, builds. We don't actually take a lot of client type projects. But in terms of like, if someone wants a shop to do it, there are tons of people out there now actually building commercial shops now all over the country. I mean, this year especially has been a pretty big boom. I don't know if that's because everyone's hunkered down this year, so everyone wants to go travel, but there's quite a few new build shops opening up right now. And then there's also quite a few of my friends actually who've had shops for quite a few years now. Like my friend Luke down in North Carolina. I got Charlie out in Denver. Chris is out in Denver. A couple guys up in Idaho. So I mean, there's people all over the place now. Just opening up literally like full shops, just building these things out.
Yeah. So you say you're building some to sell as well?
Yeah. So I build like custom designs in the background, and then when they're done, we either sell them or rent them out as a part of our company, essentially. So they're all like custom designs. We don't, like I was saying, we don't typically take client builds, just because we do a lot more of the kind of filming and custom build stuff for content essentially. Wow. But if people are looking for like a commercial shop to build their bus, there are tons out there that they could start contacting.
So are you going to be selling your big bus?
No, actually I haven't officially announced it. So I guess, I mean, it's probably been assumed by a lot of people, but I'm actually going to be renting it next year for people to use. Because my family's been using it for the past year. My parents lived in it for a while when I was building the blue bus. But next year, no one seems to really want to use it. So I think I'm just going to let other people use it and put it up for rent. Because I hate to see things just sit. And that bus just means too much to me to let it just sit there. So I figure might as well let someone else go enjoy it if no one in the family wants to claim it.
So what is the wildest bus build you've seen? Or what's the wildest thing you've seen on a bus build? That might be the better question.
Oh man, people are awesome. I saw one bus. I don't know who did it, and I've never seen it in person, but I've seen pictures online. Someone did like a slide out, like a slide flip out on the side of a school bus, where essentially they took like RV slides and had it pull completely out, and it like extends the entire inside of the bus. I thought that was crazy because I was just like, I mean, I can't even wrap my head around how you would get the mechanics to work inside of a school bus to do that. But someone did, and it's awesome. I've also seen people do like double-decker buses and stuff. Those things are pretty cool. We can't really drive them, but I mean, it's crazy to see what people have come up with, in just terms of alternative livings, reusing, stuff that would end up in a landfill and then turning it into, you know, a really cool home.
Yeah.
I want to know, when you rent these buses,
Sure.
are people like driving cross country in them, or are they just renting them and going and sitting somewhere and living in it?
Both. So like my green bus Navi, I'll probably park it and let people rent it in a location, just because that bus is like, it just means so much to me and my family that I really want to risk having someone drive it around.
Right.
But other rigs that I build, we do put those up on sites like Outdoorsies and stuff, so people can actually rent them and drive them on like a 2 or 3 week trip or something like that. But it really comes down to the quality of the bus and is it meant to be driven like that or not. For instance, like the blue bus that I'm building now, it's got 70,000 miles on it. I just rebuilt the entire engine. Like that thing's going to go for another 100,000 miles. Like that one, if I ever rented it, I'd probably let people drive, because it's easy to drive and it's got a really good maintenance record. But the green bus, it's just, I'd rather just let people enjoy it in a really beautiful location and not risk having that thing go down a highway with someone.
So if somebody is driving one and they break down somewhere, what do they do?
It's all actually, it's kind of cool. So like sites like RV Share and Outdoorsy and all these kind of like rental sites, they have like full like cover packages within their rental programs. So like there's, I have my own insurance policy as a company. The person would get their own insurance policy as the renter. And then there's an entire like program built into those sites for like roadside assistance and things like that, that is paid in. So it's kind of like all built in, kind of like an Airbnb, but it's for like RVs, vans, alternative rigs and things of that nature. So it's all wrapped up within that program. So it's kind of very user friendly from the renter side, I guess.
That's interesting.
Yeah. I mean, something, if anyone's out there and they have an RV or something that they're not using, I mean, I don't get any, kickback or anything for like, go check out RV Share, go check out Outdoorsy for, possibly renting your rig out. Cause I mean, it's a great way to, possibly make some side money and allowing other people to, experience and traveling. I mean, I know people who they go to like Thailand for the winter and they live in a van and they'll rent their van out for the winter while they're in Thailand. And then that van's making them money while they're living abroad. So, I mean, there's a lot of really cool ways to use, these different business models to kind of make life sustainable on the road.
Our nephew and his wife just got back. They went out in Texas, and they stayed at every place they stayed was unique. Like one night they stayed in containers that had been converted to homes. One night they stayed in covered wagons, and then one night they stayed in something else. I can't remember. But anyway, everything they stayed in was unique. Like it wasn't your average hotel. And they talked about how awesome that was. And me and Tammy talking about we're going to have to do that sometime and experience that. And it was just set up so awesome. I can see like your bus set up somewhere out by a lake. People just want to do it.
Yeah.
The memories is what it's all about anyway. Owning what you make the memories in is irrelevant.
Yep. Yeah.
Right.
But so where do you see schoolies going as far as technology? What do you see coming through the pipeline that is going to be the next coolest thing in schoolies?
That's a fun question. I'm not too sure, honestly, because like this, I would have never expected what's happening right now to be happening. Kind of like you said with buses. Like I would have never guessed that buses would be selling for 3 times their pricing a few years, in the future. Where like right now, like there's so many cool people, cool ideas, like getting into this lifestyle that like I think a lot of companies are starting to jump on board where like they're starting to develop technologies that are built for tiny living in small spaces. So like it's going to be cool to see what type of technologies come out for us to be able to use. I think a lot of people are kind of really figuring out that whole like large bus, small bus type of travel. It seems like short buses are really starting to get popular. A lot of people are looking for that, van crossover almost, kind of spacing. So I'm not too sure where it's going to go, but I'll tell you that the 2020 has definitely shooken the whole market up quite a bit and kind of has gotten people to, I think a lot differently about, you know, what they're doing and how they're currently living.
I think me and my wife just bought a mobile home, and we've sold our house and going to move into a mobile home. But we run into an issue that the housing market. There were 3 issues that they had a mobile home shortage. We had a problem finding even a brand new one, and they said the mobile home issue was for one caused by the housing industry booming so much that it priced people out of houses.
Yep.
So they couldn't afford houses, so they went to mobile homes. If the housing market keeps booming, I see that affecting the schooling and all that as well, don't you?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, we've already seen, I can tell you from like my experience just on like social media, it's not even that I've done anything different, just from the traffic amount of people that are searching RVs and vans and campers. It's the entire market has just grown in the last 6 months, because I think people are doing exactly what you just said. They're looking at the housing market. They're looking at ways to kind of get out of the cities, or, you know, just try to find a different way of living. I mean, a lot of people are working remote now. So like remote work can be done anywhere. So people are thinking, you know, why pay, you know, a couple $1,000s a month for an apartment in the city when I can do the same exact job now anywhere? And I think that's really pushed people to start looking this direction. And I've seen it myself just in the number of people, just the number of emails I get and contacts I get. It's definitely been significantly more in the last 6 months than ever before. And I'd imagine that has a lot to do with exactly what we're talking about within the housing market and the workforce.
Mobile home dealers told me that they could sell all the mobile homes they could get.
Oh, yeah.
They just can't produce them with COVID fast enough. And then the hurricanes keep hitting the south, so that drives up all the material.
Yep.
Plus, it also drives up the need for more mobile homes, right? Temporary house.
Yep.
And so they're talking like, even though they were shut down for over a month and didn't sell a home, this is going to be the best year they've ever had, ever.
Yeah. Which
and
is
they
crazy.
think it would be even better if they could get the homes sitting on their lot.
Yep. Yeah, no, I think like with my one friend who bought an RV last year, they had the RV dealer call them up and tried to buy his RV back from him for more than he paid for it, just because they had no inventory. And I was like, did you sell it? He's like, no, because I couldn't buy another one. And I was like,
right.
True. Well, that's a good point. It's like you got to give yours up, but then you lose it, and you can't get another one.
Yeah,
like,
me and Tammy run into that, and everybody knows. They've seen our house on the market, so it's no secret. But we sold our home for $235, brick, nice home. Not bragging, I'm just saying $235.
Yep.
We're gonna have 80,000 in a 16 by 80 mobile homes, more land and all that. I get it, but we were expecting like 50,000, and now we're gonna have like 80,000.
Yeah,
that's where the market is right now.
Yep. Yeah.
But you try to buy a home in our area, the cheapest home you're going to find that needs work, $150.
Yeah, that's where it is where I'm at. I mean, where I'm currently building up in New York, we're up in the mountains, in the middle of nowhere. We've got a town of like 600 people in our town. Like we're in a small town. There is one house for sale, or one house available in the entire market. The real estate lady was telling me she's got 16 houses under contract in our small town. And that's unheard of. I mean, it's insane, but people are just looking, you know, to get out, and they're buying vacation homes and they're buying these things. And I mean, it's cool to see that it's making people think differently. I mean, you know, if people, they're going to what?
Now is the best time to be a realtor.
Oh gosh, I'd imagine. I mean, I'd imagine so. I mean, yeah, it's crazy. But the cool thing is, I mean, from what I've seen, is it seems like a lot more people are starting to rethink their lifestyles, rethink the way that they are interacting with their finances, the space that they live in, where they live. And it's kind of cool to see that, like, we've been living this alternative lifestyle for, you know, a few years now, and people have been doing it for a while, and that there's a lot of light being shed on it now. And, you know, hopefully that will, you know, get people to think a little differently about, you know, communities and families and finances. And, you know, hopefully what we've been doing for a few years can influence some people. Yeah,
because when you sit down and run the cost of living in your big schoolie, it is pennies on the dollar to living in the same square footage of an apartment.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I mean,
for sure.
You got less expense.
When you do your builds, do you try to use, repurpose things, or do you go out and buy brand new lumber, brand new cabinets, brand new whatever, or do you try to repurpose and,
I'd say it depends.
Previous builds or, whatever, wherever you might find stuff.
Yeah, it depends on the build. Like I've built buses that are completely reclaimed pretty much. And like the bus I'm currently building, it's almost 90% new material and, products and stuff. But it really kind of depends, I think, on what project we're working on. So it's kind of a both and depending on what we're doing. Like the one I'm doing right now, I'm purposely building as a build series to show people what we're doing. So I am buying new materials in this case. But for instance, next year, I'm building a bus most likely with my sister. And that one's going to be, a bit of, both and, because she's going to be designing it and we're going to be matching what she's looking for. So it would be more likely a lot more reclaimed type materials because we're trying to go for an actual design aesthetic and trying to actually, keep costs low. So it kind of depends on the project to kind of show people that there's different options and different levels of what you can do and what you need to do.
That's cool.
We had camping with Clammy on a couple of days ago, Monday, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, and of course, a lot smaller situation, but they took a slide-in truck camper and set a goal that they were going to totally remodel it and add solar for under $1,000. And people told them they were crazy, and they did it.
Yeah.
It's mindset over beauty sometimes. Like, you got to challenge yourself. With no challenge, there is no desire to save, right?
Yep. Yeah. And it's also time. Like I know with reclaiming materials, if you're trying to do it with 100% reclaimed materials, you've got to have an amount of time to source the materials, which is going to go into your build timeline, where if you need to get the thing done in 3 months, it might be really hard in 3 months to reclaim the entire build. It doesn't mean you can't find some stuff probably. But it's going to take you a decent amount of time to source all of the materials needed to really put the whole build together. Especially if you're trying to get components like solar components and stuff, that might take some time to find, what you're looking for, for a really low cost.
Yeah. If you're building something small, right now would be a great time to do it because of this. There's so many houses being built right now. And a lot of times, these big contractors that's building, say, 8 homes at a time, they don't pay a crew to come and send that stuff back. They pay a crew to come in and clean it up.
Yep.
So if you said, I'd go in and clean up this whole lot of this house, they would more than likely give you all the good stuff that's left to keep from paying somebody. I've heard that numerous times.
Yeah.
And why I say if you're building a little home or a tiny home, because you may get a lot of 4-foot boards instead of 8.
Yep.
Or 7 foot. You know what I'm saying?
Yep. Yeah.
And, but that's a great place. And you were talking about your sisters. If you knew up front you were going to do a reclaimed, recycle setup, just make your design. Say, hey, well, this is thing like my shower's got to be this big. My bed's got to be this big. Then be flexible on everything else. You'll save a lot of money.
Yep. Yeah. My green bus, the first one that I built, the entire bathroom has these like really nice like subway tiles in it that typically are like for like a 1x1 sheet. I think it was like $12 a sheet. And I was like, no way, I ain't paying that. But what I did do was I found all of the broken sheets at Home Depot that they can't sell. And I bought all the broken sheets for like $2 a sheet. And then I ripped them off individually and then hand pieced them in. And I got the same tile for no cost because they can't sell the broken sheets. But I didn't need it. When we're building tiny spaces, you don't need, 1,000 square feet of tile. We need like 40 square feet of tile, maybe. Right. So like I can make do with the broken tiles because I can make it work. So, that's another cool thing is because we're using small spaces, we don't need 16-foot boards. we don't need, huge, big, tiles and stuff, where we can find ways to save money by, just, we need less. It just
Yeah. Well, also closeout items work good if you're doing a recycled build, because closeout items usually are only one of something versus 4 or 5 what you'd have to have for a house all matching.
Yep.
I think a bus, a van, a tiny home, whatever, I think it would look cool mismatched, especially if somebody walking in, you said, hey, nothing matches. The only thing this matches is my budget. I built all this for this amount of money, and I done it because that don't match that, and that don't match that, but it all works.
Yep. Yeah. And that's the thing, is like, it's yours. So if it works and you like it, great.
Right.
That's how they did them. That's how they did them in the 70s. They took what was free.
Yeah.
Them piece buses going down the road were not furnished from Lowe's.
Yeah.
But I think with the way the world is right now, I think we're seeing a move to go back to that.
Yeah.
Phyllis gets on to me all the time and says, no, you don't need it, you want it.
Yes.
She gets on to me that constantly for that. Oops.
Well, I mean, everybody's kind of been, well, maybe not everybody, but we're kind of conditioned to, we need our microwave, we need our TV, we need no, we don't. Yeah. You can cook without a propane stove.
Mm-hmm.
It's quite possible. You don't need the microwave. You want it because it's convenient. It's easy. It's fast, and that's, you don't need a TV, but for some reason we get bored without a TV. So we sit in front of it all day long. Half the time, don't even watch it. It's just on just to be on. You don't need that TV. You just want it. It's conditioned into you to, you're bored without your TV and it's too hard to cook. That just keeps going on. It's everything that if you, people didn't used to have running water, they didn't have toilets in the house. You don't really need a toilet in the house. It's convenient, but you don't need it. Do I want to use an outhouse? No, but I'm just saying.
Oh man, yeah, she was kidding me the other day because a lot of the new mobile homes now don't come with microwaves built in.
Yep.
And she was giving me a hard time about, you could put one in your pantry and roll it in there or whatever, and I'm like, no. And she's like, she would own me, and I mean, my middle name is Lazy. Not really, but it should be. But my wife was raised roughing it, and she's done roughing it. You know what I'm saying? She lived that life. It wasn't a choice. That was forced on her. So she said she had enough of that roughing.
No, you don't know our background. You don't know how I grew up. You don't know how I grew up simple or, I didn't grow up rich, but that doesn't mean I have to have a microwave. Do I want one? Sure. But I don't have to have it.
So in the schoolie business, do you get a lot of fans? Like, say if you're parked at Cracker Barrel, do you get a lot of people wanting to check out your rig?
Yeah. I would say pretty much anyone who's in some type of like alternative painted vehicle, I feel like since it's very popular now, you have a hard time parking a lot of places without someone like coming up and saying, hey, which is great. I mean, for me, like when I started living in my bus, I decided that if anyone ever wanted to look at it, I would say yes, just because why not try to encourage people if they're interested? But there's definitely more this year than ever before that I've seen. And I don't know if that's just like we were saying because of the market of how many people are looking into this lifestyle. But yeah, definitely every time you sleep at a Cracker Barrel, you wake up in the morning and there's usually someone looking at you.
You're a rock star. You're a YouTube sensation.
Yeah, I mean, people will recognize buses and stuff, but I always laugh about the fact that more people recognize the buses than they would recognize me or something. I mean, 37-foot billboard going down the road is a little bit easier to see than, just me. I'm only 5'10",
Oh, you're a lot taller than Gary then.
Yeah.
Yes, a lot. So, have you ever just built something and stand back and look at it and say, that's not how I envisioned it, and just rip the whole thing out and start over?
Every single day. Every single day. I'm a little bit too much of like a perfectionist with the way that I see it in my head and the way that it comes out in person, where like if it's not right, I'm pretty keen to take it back apart and put it back together, because like I don't know, I'm a big fan of trying to do it once and it's gonna last, and not try to do something too quick and then you end up fixing it a year later. So I think half of my projects are kind of like figuring it out, doing it, redoing it, not liking it, redoing it, loving it.
Well, for those that don't know, Navigation Nowhere is a pretty good sized channel where y'all are nearly at 50,000 subscribers, ain't you?
Yeah.
And so being that big, you're starting to get noticed now. So have you had any offers on the table of sponsorship or anything interesting?
Yeah, I mean, so before I even started on YouTube, I actually worked over on Instagram a bit more, where I actually have a bit of a larger platform actually over there. So I've been working with companies for a bit over on Instagram. More recently, I've thought about trying to start pulling over more into YouTube, just because I do work with a lot of companies and like testing products and stuff. So it is becoming a bit more of a natural progression where, because I'm building and I'm showing people how to build, it's a pretty natural transition to start actually, after I'm testing these products and I actually really like them, to start sharing them with people. So, I mean, the most recent one that I've been working with is actually Pioneer Mini Splits with their high efficiency mini split units. So I've been working with them to try to, figure out how they can improve their, install processes for school buses and stuff, because they're made for residential applications.
Right.
We can modify them for buses, but I'm giving a lot of feedback to them of, hey, if I'm installing this in a school bus, this is where your system is great, and this is where I wish you would modify it for buses and vans. And trying to kind of go through some testing with them, and trying to figure out what the best way to install it is. So that's really one of the big ones we've been working with right now, just because I'm really interested in trying to see how we can increase the ability to kind of run these more creature comfort kind of systems within these rigs and make them more full-time, more year-round, and give
blend
sustainable ways.
And blend into the construction as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So
that's the biggest. I mean, who wants to, nothing wrong with it, but if you spent a ton of money building your home, which your bus is your home, and your air conditioner falls out the window, that's not cool at all.
No, yeah, not at all. Not helpful.
And that's kind of like the cargo builds. A lot of people cut the holes and stick a window unit in a hole in the side of their truck. I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
What if that AC craps out and I can't find one the same size?
Yeah.
Then I've got this big old hole in the side of my trailer and nothing to fill it, Now, I've seen a couple of cargo people use those split units, and we kind of looked at them, but then we were like, seemed like a lot of extra work.
Yeah.
And that's where we get lazy, because it was like, I don't want to do that.
Yeah. And I think for me, I know we do a lot of like more focusing on off-grid living. We try not to be grid powered as much as possible. So, I mean, it's also kind of a big challenge where I like to try to find ways to, how can we get a lot of this to either run on a partial off-grid system? How can we get an AC unit that can run on a small generator? What needs to be done to get these things to happen? Because, I mean, a lot of those like drop-in window units, they're not high efficiency units. They're made to just be plugged into a house, 30 amp breaker, done. And that's not feasible in a traveling rig. Like
and they're loud.
Yeah, we're not running that kind of power systems. And if we are, it costs way too much money.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So, and I've noticed too, with vans and buses, people have gotten more creative on how to make it comfortable without running the air.
Yep.
You know, like flow through windows, like putting certain kind of windows in certain places so you'll get airflow through the van. Yep. The science behind van builds and bus builds has changed a whole lot over the years, hasn't it?
Oh yeah. Yeah, 100%. I mean, the types of installations we're using, the types of ways that people are building, like I was saying before with technology and how companies, I think a lot of these companies are starting to see that this van, bus, camper world, there's a market there. So they're starting to create and, redesign products to fit that customer because people are asking for them. And it's kind of cool because when I built my first bus, most of the components that I used, I would never use now because those companies have come out with much better stuff at this point. And it's like only been 4 years. But, when supply meets demand, they're going to start developing these technologies and modifying stuff. I mean, like 4 years ago, I couldn't even get internet anywhere on my bus to work. And now it's not that hard to find internet that you can install on a moving vehicle and you'd have great internet all over the country. And like, that's just unheard of 4 years ago. It was really hard and really expensive. And now they make units to do it. And it's crazy.
So what are you getting for your internet? Because I'm sure we have some RV people.
Yes.
Yeah.
A hot topic on our show lately.
Yeah, I can explain a bit of it. I'll email you a video if you want to post it up for people or give it to them. I'll put a video up of a friend of mine made that literally details like how we get our internet all around the country. It runs 24/7. It uses, we use like SIM cards essentially, but it's a mix between a booster system and then a Wi-Fi, it's not like a dedicated MiFi, like a Verizon MiFi type thing. It's a Wi-Fi booster that runs off of SIM cards, but it essentially sends a Wi-Fi signal throughout the rig, but it runs off of cell boosting signal. And we literally run, like I've been running 30 megs on that card 24/7 for the most part. I mean, even out in boondocking spots, if you have cell service, I can get pretty good service. I mean, and I think for the SIM cards, I think I have 3, and I think it's like $90 a month for everything, which I can run my entire business from. So, I mean, if you're running a business online and you need the internet, I mean, it's not a huge business expense to have dedicated internet anywhere in the country for the most part. I mean, there's very few locations that I've really had like a hard time to find connection to send emails or, things of that nature. But like I said, I'll send you the video, and then that will have pretty much like the detail of everything if you're interested.
I'll share that on the community tab.
Yeah.
So everybody can see it.
Yeah. But I think it's a good option. I mean, it's like I said, I work on social media and all this stuff, and that's how I run my stuff. My other friends, they run the same stuff. And, we've never had any problems. So.
Good deal.
Yeah.
So
we run into with any kind of cell signal or internet, we can step outside the trailer and have full bars.
Yep.
Step inside the trailer and it's like, whoop, they're gone.
Yep. Yep.
So okay.
Yeah,
so we're by the windows in the trailer to text the kids or whatever.
Yeah.
It's raining outside and we don't want to stand outside.
Yeah. And that's where the key with the system that we have that we install, essentially it's taking the signal outside, it's putting it through the rig, and then it's extending it with inside. So like the whole metal body or structure doesn't really affect it at that point, because you're actually transmitting the signal into the inside and then sending it out. So you don't have those issues at that point, which is kind of cool because like I said, that like 4 years ago, that wasn't really a thing too much. So
right. Yeah, that's awesome.
if you, I seen you looking. If you need to go, we can let you go.
Yeah, I was gonna say I just got I just got the look from some people about getting back to the build. So I don't want to run, but I think it'd probably be good to get heading out.
Yeah, we appreciate you being on our little show. We really enjoy talking to you, and I know we're gonna love watching your channel.
Yeah,
and if you will email us that link, we will share that out as well on our community tab.
Yeah,
and I might even put it in a bot for tomorrow. I'm one link behind of doing that. But anyway, we'll do that. And I appreciate you being on. Anything else you need, Philip?
No, just thanks for being here. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, no, it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah. Great information for me. I don't know about everybody else, but
I love it. I
enjoyed it.
So maybe we can do this again sometime.
Yeah, that'd be great. It'd be a lot of fun. So thanks for having me.
If you get anything new you want to promote, you're always welcome. Just get a hold of Felix and she'll hook you up.
All right. Yeah. No, that sounds good. That'd be fun.
All right. Thanks. We'll let you go.
All right. See you guys.
See ya. Man, wasn't that cool?
Oh, he's awesome.
He is cool. I mean, he's just a good old boy. And he learned about what he does by doing it himself.
Right.
And that was cool.
Which is awesome.
So he's a walking experience, you know. So somebody looked at him and said, I didn't know nothing about it, and I done it. And he didn't have a lot of highly trained people around him, just a lot of people willing to get in there and do it.
That's pretty interesting, because there's almost always at least one person in the bunch that's, you know, a professional carpenter or a professional electrician, you know, or whatever. So even the people that he has helping him is, you know, learning with him, I guess. So that's pretty cool. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I thought it was really cool. So, but yeah, when he emails that link, we'll get it up on the community tab, and you guys can come by and watch that. That'll be cool. Yeah. So don't forget, tomorrow we'll have FTA Adventures will be with us, and that'll be fun.
Yep, motorcycle guy. He travels and camps in his not in his motorcycle, I guess, on his motorcycle.
Yep. So, we got anything else we need to talk about? Anybody got anything going on? I'm gonna get off and go to work.
Everybody got quiet. I still show everybody's here, but they just got really quiet.
Yeah, we got 18 people in here.
If you're still here, say hi. Type hi in the chat. Let me know you're still here. Because it just kind of looks like y'all left us, even though I see numbers. See, I don't know. Maybe everybody's working and
we may be the only one in here.
They're working and hanging.
They're lurking. But away from the phone or the TV, so they can't type in. Justin and Christina, they go hi. So, and then we lost somebody. Somebody left because you offended them.
Oh well, they'll get over it. They'll be back tomorrow.
Yeah, because see, when y'all get quiet, Stream Elements looks like they talk more, but they talk just as much. They're set on timers. They talk when I tell it to. But if y'all don't say something in between, they stack up.
Oh, another one.
Do what?
We lost another one.
Uh-oh. You stuck your tongue out. Right off.
I didn't like that I did that.
All right, guys. I got to go load a trailer or do something productive. Call my dad.
I don't know if Sherry wants to come on early. She's coming on today. I don't know. Let's see. Sherry, are you still in here? Did she say hi? Is she still here?
I didn't see her. Nope, I didn't see her.
Okay. Well, she's supposed to come on at 11. So I'll drop her link. Or I'm sorry, 11 Central. So she's supposed to be on at the top of the next hour. I don't know if she'll see or hear this. She may want to pop on early, so you might go over and check her out, see if she comes on a little early. Yeah, I don't know if she's in here. I know she said great interview at one point, so I'm thinking maybe she took off a little earlier.
Yep. All right, guys. Say bye. We're gone. Love you.
Right.
See you tomorrow.
Bye.
Straight